Welcome to the February 8th, 2023 meeting of the City of Lake Forest Plan Commission. My name is John Dixon, and I am Chairman of the Plan Commission. At this time, I would like to ask the members of the commission to introduce themselves, starting on my far left.
Barrett Davy.
Louis Pickus.
Jamie Moorhead.
Mark Pasquazi.
And from the City of Lake Forest, we have Kathy Sirnak here this evening. The next item on the commission agenda this evening is consideration of the minutes from the November 9th, 2022 meeting. I am going to ask, we do have copies of those. I'm going to ask that we take a motion to accept those minutes at our next meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The first matter before the commission this evening is the consideration of a request for approval of a tentative plot for the Saunders Estates Subdivision proposed on the property addressed at 480 Saunders Road. 4 single-family lots are proposed. At this point, I'd like to ask the commission members if there's any conflicts of interest or any ex parte communications in regards to this matter.
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay. At this time, I would like to turn it over to the city for clarification as to where this petition stands this evening.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Dixon. It is a bit unusual, but about couple hours ago, I heard from the petitioner, Mr. Polson, that he was tied up and would not be able to attend the meeting tonight. Ordinarily, we would pull a petition from the agenda, just because having the owner present, the representative present is important. There is no legal requirement before the Plan Commission that the owner be present. And the unusual thing about this subdivision is that this subdivision, in almost the identical format with the exception of a few tweaks from some engineering calculations, previously was heard by the Plan Commission, went through tentative Plan Commission review based on a recommendation in support of the subdivision. The City Council granted tentative approval of the plat. Final engineering was done. This was in 2017. The final plat came back before the Plan Commission. You recommended approval. The council signed off on it in 2017. The approvals were all in place. The petitioner at that time in 2017 never proceeded with submitting a final plat for recording. Prior to recording, the petitioner is required to pay impact fees. In 2017, the housing market was different than it is today or than it's been recently, and the petitioner never came forward with the plat. The code very clearly states that a final plat needs to be recorded within 12 months of council final approval. The fact that recording the plat requires impact fees to be paid probably explains why the developer didn't move forward at that time. The city portion of impact fees is just under $20,000 per lot. School district, the two districts together, is also another $20,000 per lot, so it is a substantial buy-in. So when the petitioner recently came back and said, we want to sell the lots, I think they were surprised to be reminded that there are no lots, it's a single parcel, and the subdivision expired. Engineering did ask them to go back and have their engineer recalculate the stormwater requirements. Since 2017, and I can't speak to technically what changed, but because of the significant rainfalls that we've been experiencing, the rainfall number used to factor into some of the calculations changed, which doesn't significantly impact the subdivision, doesn't change the number of lots, doesn't change the size of the lots. These lots were oversized anyway. Doesn't change the configuration of the lots. It may, from an engineering perspective, have changed slightly the contours of what is a dry detention pond in this case. So that's a bit of background on why we're here. Certainly up to the Plan Commission if you feel comfortable moving forward with a tentative approval tonight. Just a bit of background, this property, 480 Saunders Road, is located at the far west edge of Lake Forest. It is located behind the office buildings on the south side of Route 60, just as you cross over the bridge. There are about 15, mostly 4 to 6 acre lots back in that area. There is potential for subdivision. It is an area, obviously, that is impacted by the tollway, the location near the tollway, and it is impacted by wetlands. This lot happens to be one of the lots in that area that is not impacted by wetlands. I do expect in the coming months you will see another subdivision in that general area. About 20 years ago, at the request of residents in that area, at that time it was unincorporated, it was in Lake County. That area was annexed, and the city extended through a special service area, extended public water and public sanitary sewer, because the well water in that area was not good. In fact, I remember one of the residents bringing me a bottle of the water to make his point that the city really needed to annex this area. The subdivision before you, again, the property's about 6 acres. 4 lots are proposed. They all have frontage on Saunders Road. From a lot configuration standpoint, they meet the minimum lot size. This area is zoned R3. All of the lots are 40,000 square feet. The northernmost lot is a bit larger. The lots do not meet the lot width to lot depth ratio. The ratio is greater. These lots are normally, the subdivision tries to discourage very, very long rectangular lots. In this case, it seemed like those extra deep lots made sense because of the configuration of the property, because of the fact that these lots back up to not only a dry detention area, but also the tollway. So the lot to the width to depth ratio is in excess of what the code normally requires for normal sized lots. But again, it appears to make sense on these properties. As I mentioned, public water and sanitary sewer are in place right along Saunders Road. No new roads are proposed. No public infrastructure is proposed or required as part of this subdivision. The detention area, which will be behind these lots, will be an outlot and will be the responsibility of the future homeowners association. The city will not be responsible for that area. However, there will be a note on the plat that if that detention area is not properly maintained, in accordance with stormwater regulations, the city would have the right to go in or hire a contractor to go in, provide the required maintenance or improvements, and then charge back the homeowners association. I think I mentioned this property is not within the overlay district. There is no special use permit required. This is just simply a subdivision. Ultimately, the city council would just approve the plat by motion. There is no ordinance involved. There are some trees that we recommend that we try to work around those and try to preserve those as development occurs. And with that, again, if you choose to do so, it would be appropriate to forward a recommendation on tentative approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Nick. I have just a couple of questions. First one's a procedural one. So there is no prohibition. You stated that the petitioner is not here and called earlier. There is no prohibition for the commission to move forward with what has been prepared by the petitioner and put forward to the commission this evening. However, the petitioner's not here. Therefore, my question is, there's no prohibition for us moving forward with taking a vote on this petition before us this evening without the petitioner here.
That is correct. There is no requirement that the petitioner be present. Again, wouldn't normally recommend it, but because of the unique circumstances around this particular petition, if you're comfortable, there's no prohibition on doing so.
And in 2017, I have two more questions. In 2017, when this came up, you laid out a lot of issues, not issues, but the facts surrounding this subdivision. All those facts that you laid out and all the criteria for this subdivision, that was all deliberated in 2017 by the then Plan Commission, and then that was approved by the City Council. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I didn't note, but in your packet, you do have the detailed minutes from both the Plan Commission's consideration of tentative and final consideration of the plat of subdivision. And I will add that conditions in this area have not changed. There has not been other subdivision activity. Everything has been status quo in this area since the time this came before the commission in 2017.
And the only thing that has changed are the tables you mentioned, I'm going to not say it incorrectly, but the drainage tables, or the what is the term of art?
The rainfall calculation that must be factored
Okay.
in to determine the required amount of detention.
So while those have changed to put it in simple terms, to a more conservative, probably calculations, and the stormwater drainage here is going to meet and have to meet those new requirements that have been put in place since 2017.
Yes, and the changes required would be imperceptible to a non-engineer like me. They don't affect the shape or size or number of lots. And in this area, the stormwater is moving to the southwest, so it is moving across this property. The dry detention pond is behind these properties, adjacent to the tollway. So it is moving away from all of the homes in that area.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Maybe I'll start on my far right, Commissioner Pasquesi.
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
No, no questions.
Hearing no questions, maybe we will move to take, do I have a motion for approval?
You may want to invite public comment.
Oh, is there anybody here this evening to speak on this matter?
Yeah, actually, we are.
Is it the 480 Saunders Road?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You came in after, I appreciate it.
Yes. that would
Please.
be great. And we'll just make sure that microphone is on.
And I'll have to swear you in if I could, please.
Okay,
If
thank you.
you could raise your right hand, and do you solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Please, if you could, state your name and your address for the record.
Sure, my name is Dr. Stephen Cohn, and we live at 2055 West Saunders Road, Lake Forest.
Thank you. Doctor, go ahead, proceed.
Yes, I think our first question is, on the plat of survey, we see that there will be 4 homes, and we feel that that's going to be very congested in this area that we're in. There's only 4 homes on the road, and these homes are all like 2 acres or more. So we're a little concerned with how tight they are together, and then the traffic, and will these homes, be at the value of some of our homes that are on this road?
So we saw the plat of survey, so it looks like there's approximately 4 acres, and their plans are to build approximately 4 homes, so say 1 acre per home. That's kind of what it sounds like. So our concern is that the area around Saunders Road is a community. I don't consider it a subdivision. I don't per se envision it in the future as a subdivision because it is small, it's secluded, it is sparse, as Lake Forest is and has always been. So that is our intention. I mean, that was one of the main reasons that we moved to that area, because it was sparse. You know, things were spread out. There's a lot of character and charm in the homes. Some are older. The home next to us is recently, probably it's been up for a year. It sold for like 1.7 million. So our concern is that this developer or builder will come and build 4 different homes, say on 1 acre per home, not knowing what the look of the homes will be. And also a subdivision is normally, 25 acres, 50 plus homes. I don't consider that area big enough to be considered a subdivision. It's going to be actually the opposite look as to our look that we have on right now. You know, there's like 1, 2, 3, there's presently 5 homes on the road, so I can't envision another 4 in that tight of a space confinement.
And I think the other issue is it's going to be right on the highway, and we're very concerned that that's going to bring the value of these homes down because it's right on 94. It's going to be up above the homes where we're at. And so our concern is it's going, you know, our homes are all worth over $1 million. You start building homes for 900,000 or $1 million, and then they're on the highway and they end up selling for 500,000. That's a totally different type of buyer than we have on our street.
Yeah, it's going to bring our overall value.
Yeah, and we don't want the value of our home to go down. So that's the concern.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Maybe I'll see if the city could respond to some of those questions.
The Saunders Road area does have the character of a rural area. And I think I might have mentioned before you came in, about 20 years ago, residents in this area did come to the city, and at the residents' request, the city annexed this area and extended public water and sanitary sewer to this area. So it had developed rurally because water and sewer were not available. At the time,
We have well waters.
Yeah, we have well water. We worked with the city on a culvert pipe that was damaging our driveway, so we know it very well. So
there are homes still on well water. We did.
all of them on the road have well water.
City did install water and sanitary sewer throughout that area to be able to serve the homes. At the time the properties in this area were annexed, the Plan Commission was involved in the annexation, and at that time the R3 zoning district was applied to these properties, understanding that there was development potential. Again, most of these are, not all of them, but many of the properties out here are 5-acre lots. The R3 zoning district was applied with a special caveat that acknowledged that if a developer wanted to, lots could actually be clustered and the lots could be smaller as long as the underlying density of the R3 district was maintained, recognizing that there's wetlands and that they might want to be clustered a bit away from the tollway. The R3 zoning district requires a minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet. So this property that is before you is properly zoned for 40,000 square foot lot minimums. So there is the proposed subdivision, the number of lots, the size of the lots are in conformance with the current zoning. The only difference is that lot width to lot depth ratio, and these lots exceed what is required.
Thank you.
So with that said, the people that just bought the house next to us for 1.7, they're not here, and all the neighbors have an issue because you're going to be building 4 of them right where our 5 homes are. That's not a subdivision. That's just a builder building 4 cookie cutter homes. We looked up the builder as well. So, I mean, that's really not what we want in our community. You know, it's going to bring down the value of all of our homes and all the traffic. You're talking, 20, 30, 40 people and all the trucks and everything. Like, this is a really, quiet road. That's why we bought it.
One way in, one one way out.
one way in, one way out. So, I mean, we're gonna continue to fight it, so it's just our opinion.
We appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Thank you for coming here this evening, and thank you for stating your opinion on this project. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So what is the next process?
Yeah,
This is all
I
new
mean-
to us.
The city can answer that question, but if the petition gets approved tonight, it goes up to the city council, is that correct?
We will work to finalize the engineering, but yes, ultimately, the city council would need to approve the subdivision. I'd be happy to, if you want to fill out a form, I'd be happy to keep you informed of the process and also provide you with additional information.
I was gonna say, have they considered of just building like 2 homes there or 1? Does it have to be 4?
I can't speak for the developer. 4 is what is permitted by the zoning district.
I guess it falls within those guidelines. So the information that we presented, will that be shared with the council or no?
Yes.
It'll be part of the record. Your testimony will be part of the record, and thank you for coming, and any other questions, we ask that you bring that forward to the city. Are there any other comments in regards to the subdivision at 480 Saunders?
Michael, did you want to speak as a neighbor?
I'm not privy to what was previously discussed, but can I allow to make one comment?
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't want to like belabor what maybe already was said.
Please come to the microphone and state your full name right here. Yes, please. And your address, please.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, my name is
I'm going to have
Michael.
to swear you in too, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you
I
God.
do.
Thank you. Please state your name
Okay.
and your address.
My name is Michael J. Sullivan. I live at 461 Saunders, which is the house directly across the street from the proposed subdivision. Okay,
Thank you.
the only question that I have of subdivision is there some sort of consideration being given to the tollway traffic noise? As I understand it, if you drive along West Fork, every single house on West Fork has a berm, okay? And my concern is that not only for the benefit of the new people who are going to be buying lots, who are going to be subjected to the noise, which they knowingly will do, but the noise is particularly evident because the predominant wind patterns are from the west. So the tollway noise is a hugely significant factor on the street. And I just don't know if there was any provision or consideration being given for requiring that any whole development would also occur with a berm.
Maybe the city could speak on that question in regards to the berm?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I know you've lived out there for a long time, more than 20 years. There is a plan in your packet that shows, and I believe Mr. Wheatley, who previously owned this property, built that berm that rises in the northwest corner of the property and wraps around. If you can see the contouring, it certainly isn't going to take care of all the noise, as you well know who live out there. But the developer will be excavating an area east of that existing berm. There will be additional fill, and I anticipate that we will see some enhancement of that existing berm. The existing berm will not be removed, so that will remain and be enhanced to some extent, but certainly there is no question these lots will be impacted by the tollway.
Well, I thank you for your comments. I just think that at a minimum, the existing uses along West Fork provide a precedent in Lake Forest for what should happen with other homes that are going to be adjacent to the tollway. if you look at Northbrook, they got sound walls which are obscene looking. And I don't think that's representative of Lake Forest values. But I do think an earth berm at a height of like 6 feet or even 7 feet is not that hard to construct and certainly would be of a benefit to the residents of Lake Forest and the immediate area adjoining Conway Farms. That's my only comment I want to make.
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Sullivan.
thank you, and I do not have an objection to the subdivision. I think it's well planned, well laid out. That was my only concern.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
I would just offer to the commission, because as you know, the developer had a last minute change and couldn't be here. With the concerns raised, if you would be more comfortable rehearing this next month so that the developer can respond, that is certainly your option.
I don't know if the developer being here is going to change the, or add any additional information. I think there were very few questions that were asked by the commission and commissioners here this evening. So I think with the petitioner here present, it would not, wouldn't add any more or provide any more clarity. I think the commissioners, from my sense, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm looking to my left and my right here, if I don't think we need additional information. And with that, I'll ask to take a motion on this matter. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Let me get the language right here. So, a motion to approve the tentative plat for the Saunders Estates Subdivision proposed on property addressed at 480 Saunders Road.
Pursuant to the criteria,
Yeah,
Commissioner Davey, the 6 criteria?
Prior to the plan, yeah, so do you
With
want me to
this-
lay those out?
No, just, you can refer to them,
Okay.
the staff recommendations there. Is that your motion?
That would be it then.
Okay.
Yeah, pursuant to your staff recommendation, the 6 criteria required in advance of our approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next matter up before the commission this evening is consideration for a request to approve a zoning change from R4 single-family residence to OA open area for the property addressed at 400 Hastings Road, commonly known as the City of Lake Forest Recreation Center. At this point, I'd like to see if there's any of the members have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication in regards to this matter.
No.
No. Nope.
Okay, I will turn to the city, who is the petitioner in this matter this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Dixon. This request is driven by the current discussion around the artificial turf athletic improvement field project.
Which this is not before, just for clarification, is not before.
But as work has gotten underway on the Deer Path Athletic Field Improvement Project, we became aware, and, we look at the zoning map all day long and didn't realize that the rec center property, approximately 8 acres, is zoned R4, and the rest of that, the 17 acres to the west of the rec center property is zoned OA. Looking back in many files, talking to staff who have been here a long time, and having great conversations with some retired staff, I was able to piece together some bits of information, but my conclusions are in part based on assumption. What we do know is that the field part, the 17 acres, was Mr. Swift's polo field. So it was always open area, was never developed, was never subdivided. The rec center property, going all the way to Green Bay Road, was subdivided in the 50s as part of the Huntington Henry subdivision. The rec center property, about 8 acres, was one of the lots of that subdivision. The entire Hastings Road subdivision wasn't developed at that time. I believe it was 2 or 3 or 4 lots as part of that 1950 subdivision. In the mid-70s, and I believe it was Mayor James Swarthout who was able to work with Mr. Swift to have the polo fields acquired by the city, and this additional 8 acres was acquired. I believe when the 8 acres and the larger parcel was acquired, the city just acquired it and never looked at the zoning, to be frank. I don't ever see a discussion that there was a conscious decision to not touch the zoning on the 8 acres or to make any change on the west. I think it probably never came up. The rec center building, the original building, the permits were issued in 1978, and that building was constructed. It was later added onto. The site as it is today functions as a single site. People who use the athletic fields come to the rec center. They park at the rec center or at the school. They use the restrooms. So the city uses that entire site as a community park. So as we began to look at the field improvement project, and it's a park and recreation and public works project, but I was involved in a few meetings, and of course I had to raise my hand and say, there are 2 parcels, and part of it is zoned residential. And as you see from the site plan that's provided in your packet, some of the improvements for the field actually encroach onto the western portion of that 8-acre property. So that's why we are here before you tonight, to really do what I believe is a cleanup zoning. It would zone the entire parcel, the entire city-owned community park parcel, OA, open area. The OA zoning district allows community center buildings, it allows parks, it allows recreation. Although the property to the north, the Deer Path Middle School property and the public safety building property are also owned by the city, we're not proposing to change the zoning on those properties, because those are institutional uses and not community parks. Open area is intended for parks and open space. So that is why we're here before you tonight, really to clean up the zoning, to facilitate if the council chooses to move this project forward, and even if they don't, to really make the zoning on the city community park property a bit more logical. I would be happy to answer any questions.
If we do nothing, what happens?
If you do nothing,
It stays residential and,
technically, I would say that yes, technically it stays residential, and I would say that in order to make the field improvements on the western portion of the city property, a special use permit would be required for that narrow strip, because the rec center property is currently zoned R4 today.
so then the city would have to come before us to get a special use permit at that time.
For a portion, for that eastern portion of the field improvements.
And then my next question is, are there any other parcels in the city that need to be cleaned up like this, that you know of? Or was an investigation done on other city parcels that would have inconsistency like this one?
I did not do a thorough investigation, and if you had asked me that question 2 years ago about this property, it wouldn't have dawned on me. It only occurred because we were actually looking at a plan for this property, which necessitated me to look at the parcel lines and look at the zoning, so I can't assure you, but from time to time, we do see some inconsistencies in zoning, and we try and bring those forward and clean them up.
I have no further questions. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
No questions.
Kathy, what is the zoning for the school and the public safety building?
R4.
Okay.
And all of the school properties, all of the elementary and middle school properties throughout the community are zoned residential, as are churches and private clubs, and parks are zoned OA, and open lands property are zoned OA, and in some cases, common open space owned by homeowners associations are zoned OA, open area.
So, in your estimation, there's really no other zoning class or code that would be appropriate for this property other than OA? This is what makes sense. It's adjacent to an OA piece.
Yes,
That's how you concluded
yes,
should go to OA.
yes.
Okay, no further questions.
And there's no likelihood of any residential construction on this piece of property ever.
I always tell people I never say never.
Yeah.
But certainly, the city is investing in this park.
Right.
They have invested in the community center in the future. It is designated as one of our 2 community parks, so there's no expectation that the city would be selling off any piece of the land. If there was some major shift in the future and the city were to sell this off, it would be appropriate to first rezone it to whatever use was intended. A car wash or something.
Do we have a motion for approval of a zoning change from R4 Single Family Resident to OA Open Area for the property addressed at 400 Hastings Road, commonly known as the City of Lake Forest Rec Center?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody here for public testimony to come address the Plan Commission on matters that aren't on the agenda. Is there anything else from staff?
I just wanted to note that the Central Business District Working Group had a very good meeting, I think it was last week, and we do anticipate that perhaps in April that the recommendation from the group will be before the Plan Commission to allow the Plan Commission to begin your process. You will be getting only a recommendation. We'll take public testimony, we'll make refinements, modifications, throw it all out if you want. But I would anticipate that conversation will begin in April.
And that'll probably evolve over several meetings, is that correct? Just to set the expectation for the
Yes,
commission?
I would anticipate that would take several meetings.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.